Hi, I'm Nancy. Welcome to a session on self-compassion. We're going to do some yoga for self-care today in the first part of the session and be opening our tender hearts to compassion. We'll be using a chair for part of this session, so you might have that ready, or the back of a couch or the armchair of a chair. Or a wall also works. So coming to a place where you can sit comfortably, extend out from the sits bones up through the spine, and relax down through the shoulders and the sides of the hips. Invite the breath into nostrils, throat, lungs. Let the rib cage expand. Let the diaphragm relax and expand down into the abdomen, relaxing the abdominal wall. The diaphragm extends down into that area below the navel, the place of the water chakra, the energy of water within us, the energy of emotions and sensations. Svadhisthana, my own place. Sometimes a place of rushing water, of strong currents. Sometimes a place of deep, flowing water. It's a place that needs self-care and a place that can give self-compassion back to ourselves. Sometimes we need to bring balance to the tides that slosh back and forth in that water chakra. And we'll begin that now with Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. Bring your hands up, make a peace sign, forefinger and middle finger up, then put those down and the thumb and the forefinger are up. Bring the thumb to the left nostril and press it, to the right nostril, and press in. Inhale through left nostril. Pause for a moment, bring the ring finger to the right nostril, left nostril, and let the air come down through the right nostril. Inhale right. Thumb to right nostril. Exhale left. Inhale left. Finger to left. And exhale right. Continue with this breath. Yogis have found that this breath calms the body and the mind. Breathing from the navel up through the nostrils. Opening up each side of the spine. And the energy chakras that braid around the spine. Next time you breathe out of the left nostril, let that be the last time. Hands come down to the thighs. Breathe into the nose and breathe out the mouth with a sigh. Just letting it all go. One more time. May we connect with the part of us that cares, purely, tenderly, and vulnerably. Yoga is a kind of self-care, and just by coming here today, we're doing some self-care. Today, in the first part of the session, we're trying to incorporate different movements of yoga into our daily lives. While in the kitchen, at work, just having a little moment in between things. What can we do for self-care at those points? We'll start by removing anything that's underneath you. And although we don't usually sit down on the floor during the day, this is always an option. We'll start here, and then we'll stand. There are 3 basic spinal moves that you can remember as you go through your days. One is to the side. So raising one arm, sliding out on the mat, and coming over, opening up the lateral side of the body. Self-compassion is gentle, caring, clear seeing. Seeing ourselves clearly and still caring. Then coming back through center. The second spinal move is a spiral, a twist. So bringing one hand over to the opposite knee and the other one back behind. Just turning to the side gently for this first twist. Holding for a moment, letting the breath massage the spine. Then coming around to the opposite side and holding there for a moment. Self-compassion invites us into a heart that is non-judgmental towards our own suffering and needs. And release. In a world where we have so much evaluation and judgment everywhere we turn, even inside ourselves, this is a word to the wise, to be non-judgmental. Now, the third spinal movement is opening the spine front and back. So bringing the feet together, soles of the feet together. The legs are in a diamond shape, hands on knees. Inhale as the sternum rises and gaze rises, just a slight opening to the front of the spine, then opening the back of the spine towards the wall behind you, and going back and forth. Opening front of spine and opening back of spine. Both compressing and decompressing the space between the vertebrae. And coming back, pause. So we've done the side, and we've done the spiral, and we've done the front and back, just to emphasize those in your mind. Then we want to open our hips. And this is something that if we can do every day, it's of great beneficence to us. Let the knees go over one direction and then the other. Let the hips rise up a bit. Give yourself some strength through the arms and the hands so that the shoulders are well supported in this windshield wiper movement. All sentient beings share the instinct of self-care. Let one arm join in. Let the momentum of the legs and the hips carry that arm around, extending the stretch into a twist and a little bit of a side bend at the same time. Next time around, bring your legs to the side and hands down to the floor. Perhaps the head comes down onto the hands or partway down, elbows might be on the floor. Find a place for a more complete twist, feeling that twist through the hips and the waist, the ribs. The Dalai Lama, when he came to the United States and saw how many hang-ups people had about loving themselves, said, how can anyone hate themselves? How can you hate yourself? It's a kind of, to the other side, it's a kind of survival, this instinct for self-care. Some studies have found that it's difficult for some people in individualistic cultures to care for themselves and give ourselves permission to do so. Sitting cross-legged again, we'll do an arm revolution. So this is to open up the shoulder. So we've done the 3 spine movements, we've opened the hips, and now we're opening through the shoulder. Another key area that tightens up during every day and is part of our self-care to bring some warmth and moisture to that shoulder area. Bring the arm around the opposite direction, swimming down through the water to the mat. Then coming to the other side, inhale, arm forward, gaze follows up and around and back. Continue 2 more times around. Dalai Lama says, connect with the part of us that cares, that tender heart. Thupten Jinpa, who wrote this book, The Fearless Heart, runs a center for cultivating compassion at Stanford University. All right, let's stand up and come to the back of our chair. Or you might be the back of a couch. You could be using a wall, anything that gives a little support and simulates where we often are in the day around some kind of furniture that we can gently hold and begin to do some of these movements that I've been suggesting. So bring the feet just a little wider than hip width apart, and maybe you're at the kitchen counter or at your desk, and you bring one arm up, and maybe you bring your weight into the foot underneath that, reach up through that arm and come over, stretching through the side. This is a side bend that doesn't take much space. Weight into the other foot, the arm above that foot reaches up. The wrist and elbow are loose as you come over. And right away you can feel that stretch through the side waist, up through the armpit. And it can be fairly constrained as a movement, and yet give you plenty of stretch. So we've done the side. Now we're going to do a twist that doesn't take so much space, bringing one hand back behind, one arm back behind the waist, and the other one can wrap either around the waist or around the shoulder and coming round. Bringing arms around to the other side. Let's make this a small movement, imagining that you're in your kitchen or your study, your office. And you can just do a little bit of self-care, just a moment, just a small movement. And this is one that you could invest in. Coming back through center, the next movement would be the front and back opening of the spine. Bringing the hands to table or chair in front of you. Bring your attention to the tailbone. Stick it out a bit and then tuck it in. Allow that to energize the spine, enabling it to open to the back and open to the front. May I acknowledge my shortcomings and failures with peace and kindness. One more time, open front, open back. And the legs also are getting a little bit of exercise there as you bend the knees. Now opening the hips in a subtle way. I suggest that you might want to hold on to whatever you're near. Bring the heel to the ankle as if you're going to start doing a tree pose. And just turn the knee out, doing some external rotation. You might bring that knee across the shin for a little more internal rotation, extending the range of motion of the hip. And then perhaps a surreptitious balance as the foot comes up just to the calf. So not expecting too much, but just inviting a little bit of balance into your life, no matter where you are. Bring that foot down, and we'll do the other side. Bringing weight into one foot and the heel to the ankle, turning the knee. External rotation. And then bringing that knee across the midline of the body. So we have external rotation of the hip and internal rotation of the hip. One more time through that range of motion. Then perhaps bringing the bottom of the foot onto the calf on the side. Gently hanging onto the chair or the counter or the desk. Challenging just the slightest bit of balance in the middle of your day. Bringing that foot down. If you have just a little bit more room, you can simulate a downward dog at your desk or counter. Depends how many people are around and what space you have. But holding on to whatever is in front of you, bring the feet back so that they're right under the hips. And this gives a lovely opening in the back of the legs and through the whole body, down through the sides of the body, elongates the spine and the arms. Strong through the tummy here. Perhaps pressing down on the outside of the feet and the heel, which raises the hips just a little bit more. Then relaxing through the arms, starting to come up, stepping forward. Bring one foot, let's bring the right foot forward, and the left foot stays back. And this can be very close together, so not much, just to give you some stretch through the front of the hip. Or if you have more room and ability to do this on your own, you can bring the back foot back a little farther. So the goal here is to open this hip flexor. We read, we use the phone, the computer, we sit and sit. And so this is so vital to our health, to open up through the abdominal area, through the front of the hip. The other muscle that often doesn't get enough is the calf. So to stretch through the calf a bit, push down through the heel and let some bend come to that knee. So now both of my knees are bent a bit and my heel is down in the back, and hopefully you can feel a little bit more through the calf. And then your body might come forward just a bit to increase that stretch. But all of these can be done very quietly. If you have the room and the space in sociality to do this, you might bring one arm up, let the gaze come up softly, let the sternum rise a bit, not going to any extreme, simply inviting the body to gently open up. We'll do that one more time. Weight down in the back foot and the front. Strong breath up from the heel, through the hip, up through shoulder, and gaze, and come back down. Then let's shift feet. Left foot comes forward and right foot comes back. Maybe just a little bit behind, maybe a little farther. Front knee is bent. First, coming up a bit on the toe to open through the front of the hip, opening the hip flexor. Breathing. With all of these exercises, a moment to breathe in the middle of your days. May I not be critical and demanding of myself. Let's bring the heel down a little farther, perhaps bringing some bend. Maybe the foot comes forward a little farther. Depends on the calf and how much wiggle room you have there. Both knees might be bent here and the body might come forward a bit to enable a little more stretching in that back calf. The main thing to remember is opening up the front of the hip and opening up the calf. And then bringing the left arm up. Just a gentle rise through the body. You lift up through the sternum and gaze rises. And let the hand come down. And one more time, reaching up and coming down. Bring the feet together. Another move that's easy to do in most spaces is to simply bring your hands clasped back behind your buttocks. My palms are up, my hands are clasped, and I'm pulling down with my hands so that the shoulders come down the back. At the same time, you can lift up a bit through the torso, leaving some space from pelvis to waist to collarbone. And if you have the space here, you can do this most anywhere. If there's space and occasion, you could raise those arms in the back, knees and hips are soft, and just come over parallel to the floor. Again, we're going to a gentle self-care here. And it can be done easily. Just keep yourself and your connective tissue, your muscles warm and moist and open. And come back up. Now bring a hand to the back of the sacrum, palm against the sacrum. Inhale the other arm up. This is one that doesn't take much room, is easy to do. You do it as a camel and opens you up through the chest, other arm, through the intestinal and stomach area. Just frees you up from all that sitting of the day. Then both hands can come behind, elbows coming towards each other a bit. And again, opening up through abdomen, chest, tucking the base of the neck. Just a little stretch for the middle of the day. Now, it could be that as you are making your dinner or working on the computer, what you need is a little relaxation. Bring your hands to your sacrum with the palms out. Palms are out and hands on the sacrum. And we're going to just bounce. Just shaking up and down, gently relaxing through the corners of your mouth, your shoulders, down through lungs and stomach and intestines, pelvic area. Everything loose. Kind of giving yourself a little lullaby rock in the middle of the day. May I give up the fear of losing control of my life. Coming to a pause. Another relaxation thing you can do for yourself is to bring one hand over the shoulder, tuck the fingers in between the spine and the shoulder blades. Then in the front, turn the head to the opposite side, bring the chin down just a bit. I'm going to pull up with those fingers up the back and over the shoulder as the chin rises. So we'll do that again, tucking the fingers back in between spine and shoulder blade. As the chin rises, the hand comes up and over the shoulder. And you don't have to do the chin. If it's best for you just to give yourself a nice rub back there, that's fine too. The chin just increases the movement a bit. And one more time. self-massage. We'll come to the other side. Hand goes over, fingers tuck in between spine and shoulder blade. Chin tucks to the other side. As the chin rises, the hand comes up over the shoulder. And then do that a few times. I could do this many times during the day and enjoy it. And then coming to a pause. One last one that you can do many places surreptitiously when you're in line is to squeeze your glutes. So simply squeezing the glutes together, squeezing the buttocks. You wouldn't do this in the grocery store, but for here, bringing your hands onto the glutes helps you concentrate on those muscles. So you're not using any other muscles. You're just using those glute muscles, squeezing them together. We tend to lose glute strength as we go through life. And this is something that even standing in a line, you can squeeze your glutes. 3, 2, and 1. Now let's sit down in a chair. Imagining perhaps that you're watching TV at night or just sitting around. Bring your sits bones so that they're more towards the front edge of the chair. If you bring one hand to the side of the chair, the other one rises, and with that leverage of the arm, the hand on the chair, you can open up a long way on the side of the body. And then the other side. So this leverage of the chair really helps you to stretch even farther than you might in other side bends. You have that solid chair supporting you, the chair itself giving you some self-care. And one more time. So we've done the side movement of the spine, coming to the spiral movement of the spine. You might bring a hand onto the opposite thigh or the opposite side of the chair. The other hand might come onto the back of the chair. And this leverage also allows you to spiral in the spine. So don't overdo it, just 50 to 70% of what you might do. But this allows a nice spiraling and holding that. Right now, what I'm struggling to control is, and then coming around to the other side and giving you some sentences to finish in your head as part of our self-care. Where I feel that in my body is. Where I feel that in my body is. And coming back, hands on the thigh. What I'm afraid will happen is. What I'm afraid will happen is. Where I feel that in my body is. Then bring your hand to wherever it is you feel that in your body. No one's watching you. I tend to feel mine in my solar plexus. Bring your hand to wherever you are feeling that struggle with losing control, that fear of what will happen. Soothing it with the warmth of your hand. And finding another part of your body that has very little tension. It might be your heart, it might be your ear, your thigh, and bring a hand to that place. Allowing the softness of the place with little tension to come to the edges of that hard ball of fear or loss of control. And one more inhale and exhale. Then bringing the hands back to the thighs. Let's stand up, bring the feet far apart. Knees are bent, hips are bent, hands are on the thighs just above the knees. And we're going to do a cat-cow. So opening the front of the spine and then opening the back of the spine. This is an easy way while you're standing to get maximum movement of the spine frontwards and backwards. What is true now is now the same stance, and bring one shoulder, the shoulder to the opposite knee. So opposite shoulder to opposite knee. A twist that tends to open you up in the upper part of the spine. Where I'm feeling that in my body is and one more time on each side. And come up. Let's sit down in the chair once again. As we're sitting, watching TV or whatever, we can bring a hand to an elbow and easily bring one hand over the other shoulder, bringing a nice stretch to the back side of the shoulder. When you do this, be aware of letting the sits bones ground down, sitting the spine up straight, and yet relaxing down the spine from the base of the neck. One more inhale and exhale here. Then coming to the other side, bringing the elbow round. Breathing, letting the air flow, letting the energy of water flow within your abdomen. Release that hand. Another thing we can do while sitting easily is to cross our legs. We're not advised to sit for hours with our legs crossed, but sometimes bringing internal rotation to the legs for a limited period of time is helpful. You might bring shins twining around the other shin, so the foot might go around if that's available to you. If it's not, that's fine. So always finding what is best for the body we inhabit, inviting some internal rotation to the hips. Unwind, limiting that period of time that we have the legs crossed, and cross in the other direction, perhaps intertwining foot around shin. May I give myself tenderness and care during hard times. One more inhale and exhale. And unwind. We can't forget the neck. An easy one to do, but one we often forget about. One easy, comfortable thing to do is to bring the arm up over the head and let the head rest into the top of the arm, the crown kind of resting into the crook of the elbow. Relaxing through the jaw, down through the side of the neck, and soft under the neck as well. Always letting the flow of breath massage the stretch that you're inviting. Switch to the other side. Rest the head in the crook of the arm. Relax down through eyes and lips. Let the breath flow. Let the breath be a healing flow within your body. And letting that go. You can always bring your chin to your chest and draw a necklace. So drawing a necklace with your chin across the chest. An easy one to remember. And bringing the chin up over one shoulder, down across and over the other shoulder. Back and forth a few times. Just giving yourself moments when there's no evaluation, no critique. Coming back through center and bring the head back to neutral. And we're going to come to a lying position on our mats. Let yourself sink down into the mat, into the earth. Imagining yourself perhaps as you sink down in bed at night. And these are some moves that you can gently, without disturbing the blankets, if there's another person in your bed, perhaps without disturbing that person, and letting yourself and your body be fairly still. Still, you can do these little yoga moves in bed. Flex the feet, and then point, then flex, and point, and flex, point, and flex. Move your legs just a little bit farther apart. Rotate the ankles round. Switch direction. Then bringing the feet so that they're hip width apart. Ankles are flexed. Push down with one heel as if you're lengthening one leg down from the hip. And then relax that leg and push down with the other heel. So lengthening one leg and then lengthening the other leg. Very small movement, but one that brings some movement to the hips, to the opening a bit in the back of the legs. And you can feel it up through your sacrum and lower back. As you do this, arms might come up, hands cradling the back of the skull and elbows out wide. This begins that slight opening in the chest. Sometimes we sleep on our sides, all curled up. It's a nice cozy way to sleep. But our bodies sometimes naturally come into this position with the hands behind the head, simply to open up, begin that opening in the chest. And then bringing your legs to a close. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together with the knees wide. And arms can be in any position. They might be by the side, they might be cactus arms. Opening up the hips. And this could happen in the morning to begin to open up the body. These are also movements that can happen in the middle of the night when you wake up, when anxiety of some kind or other tends to fill us. And we want to bring relaxation and calm. In this position or any position, you might come back to that alternate nostril breathing without fingers, just breathing in through the left nostril, breathing out the right nostril, breathing in right, breathing out left. And continue with that. One more time on each side. Finally ending with an exhale from the left nostril. That's the calming side of the body. Another thing I often do in bed is to bend the knees and bring the buttocks just a little bit over to the right and let the knees come over to the left. So in some way, letting the bent knees come over for a slight twist. Gaze can remain up, or you can bring the gaze over to the side. Relaxing down through the waist and the hips. Giving some gentle massage to the inner organs in the night or in the morning as you wake. Then raising the knees, bringing the hips over to the other side a bit, and letting the knees fall in the opposite direction. This is beneficial to inner organs, to the spine. It brings our attention to the breath as it flows up and down the body. Now bring your whole body over to the side. So lying on the side, I have my back to you here. Bend the top knee a little bit more. Reach down, trace down across the leg, come to the ankle or the foot, and bring that foot up a bit to stretch across the top of the quad. An easy way, while still in bed, to stretch out. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I find that I'm awake because I'm not stretched out. And this is one that allows me to stretch out that front hip flexor, coming over to the other side, onto your side, sliding your hand down the leg to the ankle or to the foot, opening up through the front of the thigh and quad. Relaxing through the buttocks, the back of the thigh, the foot, and the calf. One more breath. And release the foot. Let's roll over into a prone position. We can often be on a prone position in our bed, and a small sphinx with the forearms right under the shoulders and fingers spread with hands firm against the mattress or the mat. Allowing some opening through the front of the abdomen, up through the chest, some relaxation down the back, letting the breath run up through the hips, up to the collarbone, move of the mouth, then back down. This relaxes, allows the psoas, that inner muscle is often tense, to relax. And stretches us out if it's the beginning of our day. Now bring the hands in front of you, kind of walking the fingers out on the rug or floor out in front of you, stretching back through the toes and letting the forehead come to the mat. Depending on your height and the length of your bed, you might even hook your feet down around the bottom of the bed, and hands might be able to reach around the mattress at the top to increase the stretch through the body. Pulling down with the hands, let the crown come up a bit. Then bringing hands back. Bring the right hand so that your cheek rests on the palm of the right hand. The left arm is at 90 degrees, and the left leg rises to 90 degrees at the hips and 90 degrees at the knees, a kind of half frog. And this hand doesn't absolutely have to be under the cheek, but it can be. So this half frog is a way to open up through the hip and the shoulder on one side, and then we'll do the other. May I know that my feelings of inadequacy are shared by most people. Then shifting to the other side, coming to the other cheek, knee comes out to 90 degrees and elbow to 90 degrees in a half frog on the other side. The Dalai Lama and others have done studies that show that people in countries where they have a more collective way of interacting with each other, not quite so individualistic, tend to understand much more than we do that inadequacy, feelings of critique against ourselves are shared. That's just part of the human condition. And bring everything back. Let's come up into a child's pose. Depending on your conditions, this is also something that you might be able to do when you're in bed. Curling the body up, allowing the vertebrae to separate just a bit in the back. And bringing the hands forward. Hands are just in front of the knees, 5 inches or so. Lifting up the hips just a bit, bringing them over to one side of the heels, at least one hip over to one side. Then the hips come over the heels and over to the other side. So we're shifting the heels across the hips across the heels from side to side, feeling perhaps a little stretch on the sides of the hips. Then altering the relationship between the shins and the knees and the thighs and the hips. Limbering up. Next time you're on one side, let the hips stay over to one side. Extend the hands out to the opposite side diagonally, so front and diagonal to the side, bringing a stretch from the hip to the side of the body, up through the fingers. Breath here. And then bringing the hands across the center to the other side. Hips go to the other side of the heels and hands go in the opposite direction. May I see my difficulties as part of life, part of the human condition. And then coming back through center. Let's come up into a standing position for a final lunge. So we're into more the yoga part of things in the yoga class. Probably this is not one you're going to do as part of your self-care, unless you're really doing a yoga session, which would be great. So bring one foot with the knee in the front. The knee is right above the ankle, and the other foot is back behind. We've got 2 railroad tracks coming here, so there's a little bit of space in between the feet. Bring some space into the torso as you lift up from hips up through collarbone, hands on the hips. Now, raise the heel and let the heel pulse up and down in the back. Pulsing up and down. Building strength as the thighs pull slightly together. Then bringing the hips down a bit, the knee is bent in the back, and then straighten that knee slightly and bend it. So a little bending and almost straightening of that knee. Strengthening through the thighs, with the calves and the hips. And bring that foot up. Other foot comes back. Be on the tiptoes in the back to begin with the knee bent in the back. Bring this thigh in the front up into the hips and extend from the hips down on the other thigh. Pulse with the heel in the back. This is a balance as well as a strengthening exercise. Now bringing the hips down just a little bit, bend that back knee and straighten and bend. And if self-care means you need to come out of this posture, please do so. It asks a bit of challenge. Or you can come up a little higher and release the tension a bit. And then bring that foot up. Now bring one hand to a thigh and the other to the thigh. Both hands are just above the knees. And we'll come back and forth, skating, if you will, back and forth between side lunges. And slowly bringing the hips back a bit, the shoulders level with the hips and the head level with the hips as we go back and forth. Increasing the stretch in the inner thighs and also increasing the challenge and strengthening here. May I replenish the wellspring of kindness and compassion that lies within me. One more time to each side. And we'll come up. Let's come into a big star, feet wide, arms wide. And let knees be soft. Open up through the shoulders, elbows and wrists are soft. Inhale and exhale. Bring the backs of the hands together. Chin comes down to chest and exhale. Inhale, open, legs straighten a bit. And exhale, bending the knees a bit, back of hands come together. Now bring hands to the thighs, feet widen just a little bit more. Feet are out to 45 degrees and knees are out in the same directions as the toes. Tailbone is coming down towards the earth a bit. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, back, knees bending, coming right over the ankles. Hands come back to thighs. We'll do that 2 more times. Sweeping the arms wide and up. Reaching out through the fingertips as knees bend and you come back to the thighs. One last time. Feeling the openness of the body. Breathing into the clarity of the mind. And rise back up. Bring the hands back through Namaste and to the waist and bring the feet together. Let's come down onto the mat once again. We'll bring legs wide and then bend one leg so that the sole of the foot comes up to the inner thigh. Bring the arm of the extended leg over to the opposite thigh. Body faces towards the opposite corner of the room. The back arm rises up and over. Caring for the shoulders, caring for every bit of the body. Reaching over as you can. Coming back up. And reaching over once again. Come back up. Release the hand that was on the opposite thigh. Turn the chest so it's coming towards the toes of the extended leg. Inhale up through the crown. Hands are just on that leg. Easy. Knee is soft. As you come over into your version of a forward fold, a little tuck in the tummy. Softness through the ribs, through the backbone, through the leg. Inhale up. And we'll come to the opposite side, extending the other leg, bring the foot up to the inner thigh. Extended leg arm comes over to the thigh. Body is facing the opposite corner. Other arm comes up and over. Rise up and come over. And rise up. Release the hands, turn the body towards the extended leg. Bring the hands onto the leg. Soft in the knee, soft through the spine. Little tuck in the tummy as you come over in a soft forward fold. Then inhaling back up. We're going to come into a seating position, a Sukhasana, cross-leg position. A little different than usual. We're going to end with a metta, which is a way of extending loving kindness to yourself or to others. As I say a sentence, just listen or repeat to yourself after. May I connect with the part of me that cares. May I give up fear of losing control. May I be a kind witness to myself. May I abide in my tender and compassionate heart. We'll seal that with an Om. Inhale. Namaste. It's been an honor to practice with you today. I hope you have a good day of self-caring.
Hi, Nancy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nancy, thanks.